broadened, and we got exposed to newer ideas. So it was inevitable that at some point, me, Kenny, Rima, all these people who went out of Assam would come back and start doing cinema. And I'm very happy to say that all of us have very distinctive styles of filmmaking, and it's a very diverse, a platter of films that we can give you every year from the Northeast. Where every year, as in I don't know about now, because now it's the post-COVID world. But at least in the pre-COVID world, we were, and so Aamis was actually definitely a pre-COVID film,
For sure. So Lima, what we're getting some questions. I wanted to sort of help move this along about where, when you were first pitched this project, or how did you find this project? Because I recall very vividly at the Film Bazaar with Bhaskar, he was very, very excited because he had just narrated the script to me, or narrated the story to me, and he was very excited about the fact that he had found this this actor to portray your role, and he showed me your picture on his mobile phone, and he was very excited about it. So what was it that drew you to this story?
See, I always wanted to do this one particular film that was different, because this is my first venture. But I always knew that I would go for a film which hasn't really been made before in a particular way. And I knew Bhaskar, I knew him as a director, and I knew him as a friend. So I knew that, he's going to make something very beautiful out of this. So I think it was this faith that, because of which I didn't hesitate to do kind of script like that. But yeah, it was shocking in the initially I was like, hey, what is this? But yeah, I was very excited and very positive about it.
What was your background? Did you have stage background or anything like that before coming to the film?
This is my first film, but yeah, I am an Indian classical dancer. Okay. So we play with emotions. We learn about emotions in a very theoretical and practical, very theoretical and practical approach. And I think that actually helped me, to portray my emotions. It was a little difficult, but we had this workshop before we actually went for the shoot with veteran actor Seema Biswas. And she actually taught us how to face the camera and the difference between stage acting and and acting in front of the camera. So that really helped.
Very nice. And Argadeep, I see you there. You're on my screen a little bit. So what was your background before coming to this film?
So prior to that, I was assisting in a documentary film called India's Healing Forest. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I'm a musician.
And then, so how did the script find you?
Well, so as a film student and as a film enthusiast, I was totally into the script for so many reasons. I could also relate to some of the films that I have watched when I was a kid, and somehow I know there was a sense of connection from the very beginning. But then again, being a film student, I feel that you have to be very honest with your art form. So I was very reluctant initially because I never thought of becoming an actor as such prior to this film. So when I was first offered the script, I was really hesitant that whether I'll be able to do justice to the whole art of acting. So yeah.
Well, I think we all kind of agree you did a fine job. You're totally fine. No worries there.
Thank you.
So Bhaskar, I know that in India you had a sort of a general release in North India through some of the independent film programs through PVR, and you had some support from some fairly well-known filmmakers in India. So what was that like after Kothanodi getting a larger response? Like, what was the response like from a broader audience than you probably had before?
Well, like I was saying before, I knew that I'd get a lot of abuse in Assam from conservative circles for making a film like this. But that was offset by the kind of love I was not expecting, the kind of love I got, and especially from the young. And that just reinforces my, my theory that, as a filmmaker, you need to always make content for the young, because, after a certain point, the older audience sort of becomes irrelevant to you because they are not driving popular culture anymore. So it was very heartening, and little, I mean, not little, of course, they're all college-going people, but they just so understood the film, and they found so much more meaning in the story that I had also not thought about. And I think that is, if anybody has made a film and if something like this happens, it's quite magical, and I really enjoyed it. Outside Assam, we had a small release in the big metropolitan cities of India. The response was fairly good. There was nobody who was like aghast at the film. Maybe one or two people would, there was one person who said, "How did this film ever pass?" We have a censor board in India, so they were like, "How did this ever pass the censor board?" And so basically, that's because I didn't try to show anything, shocking. The idea is shocking, and you cannot censor an idea. You can only censor frames. So yeah, it was a good reaction. And then, of course, like you said, we have heavyweights from Bollywood chimed in and supported the film at the right time, which helped us get a release actually in the theaters.
Awesome. I think Jenny is ready with some questions at this point. So can we pass it over to Jenny?
Yeah, if you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I kind of wanted to dive into the whole thing about cannibalism. So I feel like cannibalism is so ripe for making a story about desire and using those themes to kind of fold in. But I also love how you used themes of class as well to tell your story. And I was wondering how cannibalism helped you convey a story that also like dealt with desire, but within the class walls as well, and in food culture, specifically in your part of India.
Cannibalism, because the idea at the script level was to sort of provoke people, but the thing is that people get provoked very easily to hate others, but it's very difficult to provoke people to have empathy for other people. So that's why I wanted to create give a sort of a taboo, which is very difficult to accept for anybody in the world. And then so what you see in the end of the film is that the news media is judging them very harshly for what they're trying to do, eat another human being. But it's difficult for us to feel that way because we've seen how they started, and how it all began. So, so the idea was to, it's like how, I don't know, religious leaders, or, I don't know if Jesus said it, but it was about, do not hate the sinner. You can hate the sin because, nobody is, clean out here. Everybody has sinned. And so this holier than thou attitude that the media has and tries to provoke people to hate people who commit crimes. I just wanted to just sort of shine a light on that, and that is why I use this, this grotesque taboo of cannibalism. It could have been anything, I could have used alcohol, I could have used drugs, but this is really difficult for people to empathize, when somebody is crossing this, border. So that is why cannibalism. It was easier for me to do a meat-based film in the Northeast because unlike the rest of India, most of the people here are very experimental with their eating habits. They eat all kinds of stuff, and there are less taboos around meat out here.
I also wanted to kind of like expand on that a little bit because making a film like this could agitate vegetarians or vegans, and I was wondering how you also kept such sympathy for your characters throughout. You kind of mentioned that where you hate the sin, not hate the sinner. And were you ever worried that vegans or vegetarians would struggle with connecting with the characters in your film?
Not really. The vegans mostly love this film because they say like, well, we give it. People who eat meat, this is what they'll do eventually. They'll eat each other. So they feel like good about it. So oh, thank God we don't eat meat, which is okay with me. But of course this is all. Nobody has a problem. Meat eaters have a problem with this film. Because, but not vegans and vegetarians. Two of our co-producers are hardcore vegetarians, but they love the film.
Kind of spinning that question off to both Lima and Agardeep, did you guys have any like conflicting feelings about playing these characters, and what kind of drew you to this project in general? I know that we kind of touched on it with Josh already, but what about specifically cannibalism made this project so interesting to you?
We were not allowed to utter the word cannibalism. We were, it was pushed into our heads that this is not about cannibalism. It's about two people who are in love, and it's about people having empathy for others, for people who, do end up doing wrong things in life, making wrong decisions in love. So meat was just used as a trope here. And like Bhaskar said, it could have been anything else, it could have been drugs or alcohol. So we basically focused mostly on the fact that it was a love story, and the other things kind of followed.
Agardeep, did you want to comment on that as well?
I totally agree with Val. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it's a love story. Yeah.
I do love, and I feel like a lot of horror movies, and this is kind of, it's not necessarily horror, but it kind of trails along that fine line that I love. And I feel like cannibalism is usually used as something so horrific, and I do love how this film uses it kind of as a segue to something much deeper. And I have a few other questions then. So I was curious about the representation of the best friend character. I love the juxtaposition of their affairs and how they treated them both. And I was wondering if you wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that idea of having this friend go through something very similar, but also something so drastically different.
You're talking about Nirmali's friend or
Nirmali's friend, yes.
Okay, so basically her character was, the way I approach this is this is a very weird experiment, that you're doing with two people and you're making these two characters fall in love, but not allowing them to touch. So when you do an experiment in a lab, you always have a control. So just to compare and contrast what's happening to your subject of experimentation. So Jumi fitted that role, of the control, because she's doing what she would have also done. So that, midway through the film, you feel that, okay, maybe her friend Jumi is also transgressing, but at least it is more acceptable and sane, because in trying to repress her feelings, her friend is completely going insane, So, but then again, we see that Jumi herself is in a bad situation, in a bad spot, because she got a baby from the wrong guy. And, this lack of a maybe child was what was, was making her seek the company of other men. So basically, the point is that no matter what choice you make in life, life finds a way to fuck you. And that Jim Morrison song that I always point out, that that there is that life is just about suffering, till you die, and it doesn't really matter what choice you make. It's a very nihilist point of view, but no one here gets out alive, and that's true.
So I think we're going to open it up to the public now, and I'm going to have, I think, someone ask a question.
Yeah, so this is Animon. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny and Josh. I'll take over from here now, and we have a number of questions from the audience. Let's get started with Geeti. Geeti, please unmute yourself.
Hi, it's nice to be here with you guys, and thank you to everybody who contributed to this film. I'm going to be very honest in that I walked away with the feelings of repulse and pity and grief and curiosity and a lot of different mixed emotions, which obviously I think I wouldn't be human if I watched the film and didn't have mixed emotions. So I just wanted to bring up a couple of questions I put in the chat, which was one thing that I came away thinking about was the juxtaposition of Jumi's relationship and of the doctor's relationship, and this concept of shame that we're left with, that, okay, getting pregnant out of marriage is generically shameful, but it's something that one could fathom living down on some level. Not easily, but it's one level of shame that most people are familiar with, whereas the media coverage of the the story that was exposed was this whole other level of shame that was almost inconceivable. I mean, I couldn't even wrap my mind around what would that even be like. It was not relatable in a way, to even understand what kind of level of shame that was. And I just thought that was very interesting. And I thought that having those two relationships parallel to each other was very useful, to be able to compare what happens. I mean, I was just thinking, I wish these guys just had a relationship and maybe it wouldn't have gone in this direction where there was one life lost. So one life was lost in this route, and then one life was gained in the other route, in Jumi's situation. And both of them, you know, begot so much shame, but the levels of shame were very different. So I think, I'm not sure if I have a question in there. I'm mostly just processing out loud what I came away with. But I think my initial question was, after the shock of the theme, was just why the concept of cannibalism, and what does that do for us as human beings to be able to draw a moral line of, well, eating meat is okay, but it's not okay, but what kind of meat, and then this quality of love that was also explored. I think that the concept of love, for me, I was very much looking at, like, this is addiction, and the doctor's character even says that I'm addicted, so, you know, these are my options. But that was really what I was thinking, was how far is this addiction going to go? And to call it love, for me, was uncomfortable, because it's not exactly the definition of love that I would think of. It might be a variation of love addiction, or some other kind of illness related to love, or using the name of love for an illness. But so those are kind of some of my reflections. Thanks for letting me speak them out loud.
I think they're very valid points you make, you know, because the second part of the film is not a love story at all. You know, it just, you know, because once she starts repressing her feelings for the boy, you know, the film becomes about addiction. And, you know, and what an addict does very well is, you know, knows how to manipulate people who love them to get their fix. So the second part is just an addict, and it's very sad to see this person who was a, you know, bright, you know, person regress into this kind of a situation where she's become an addict and always looking for a fix. You know, and this entire thing happened because she was very conscious of the boundaries society has set for individuals on whom they can and cannot love. You know? So I don't know. I don't think of her as a villain of the piece at all. You know, I just think she's a victim, like most addicts are.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, we have 9 more questions. So just to give an idea, we have a lot of people out there waiting to ask questions. So everyone, please keep your questions crisp and short so that we can, you know, give everyone the opportunity. Next question comes from Megha. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, I think he already answered my question. I believe someone else had asked the same question right before me.
Okay.
How did you come up with this idea of this film? I think you already answered that earlier when you were talking with Josh.
Yeah, thank you. Then I'll move on to the next question. Parth, if you're there, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. I just had one question, probably for Bhaskar. How would you describe the significance of last shot of the film? And I faintly remember throughout 3 scenes, I think, where they both the characters try touching each other's hand, but they do not do it. So throughout the writing process, did you know how you would end the film?
Yes, actually, as a rule, as a writer, you know, I do not start writing a script till I know where the script is going to end. So, you know, so it becomes a little easier for me to go, because I just know that whatever I write now, it has to end at that point. So it is always part of the design that they have to touch, you know. I mean, this entire film was about denial of touch, so I have to make them touch at some point. And so why not be at the end, you know? And I think it really worked because, you know, when I attend screenings, invariably audiences erupt in applause when they touch each other. And so I know that, okay, this is a successful thing to, that I attempted, and, I got it right. So that was part of the design from the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Parth. And the next question is from Aaron. But since he has no audio, his question is, was the husband or son ever potential snack?
Not just husband and son, at some point when we were doing the acting workshop, Lima started improvising with Jumi, with Nitali, the person who plays Jumi, the scene where she comes to talk to her about, the baby. And it just went very dark because she started talking about, getting the fetus aborted in her clinic so that she could, snack. So, so all kinds of ideas are coming in from all places, But yeah, I mean, the husband would have made a nice snack, I thought. A lot of meat on it.
Actually, I did think about it. I was thinking maybe that's where it would go.
Megha, let's give the chance for everyone to ask the question, and then maybe we can have a discussion at the end if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for we have another question in the queue. Sean, please unmute yourself.
Yes, wonderful movie. Really enjoyed it. Lima, Arga, and Bhaskar, very technical and very nice. So my parents were based out of Assam for 30 years. My dad was in the tea estates, and we lived in Dibrugarh, Chabua, Tinsukia. I went to boarding school like you because of the reasons you've said, and I used to come every for the summer and winter vacation. And we originally from South India, but we lived there for quite some time. So one thing I found about Assam was it's a very beautiful place, and the people are so simple, straightforward, and innocent. And one thing I noticed in the movie was even through all these complex situations about the affair, and everyone was very straightforward. So like the wife told the husband about this person and invited them for dinner. So I was just wondering the narrative of this straightforwardness, did it come from the basic Indian, basic Aamis culture of just being so open? Because it was very refreshing, because suddenly things like affairs and all can become very complex and very hidden and can become very messy, but it seems to be a very clean affair.
Yeah, I mean, it's just straightforward because, the characters are like that, because, the husband, Dilip, he's not a complicated character. He's just a guy who's all about ego, and he cannot see beyond his own nose. So he doesn't even understand the implications of why his wife, just after they've had sex, talking about this another person. He's like, okay, fine, whoever it is, just call him over, whatever you want to do. He's already lost interest in the topic because he cannot see anything which is not him. So it's a function of the character that things are straightforward. I'm sure if the character was a little different, we would have played it differently also.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So we have the next question from
back here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The next question comes from Rija.
Hey, hello everyone. That was an incredible movie. Really, had a lot of shock value. I just wanted to understand if you had an element of sort of dominance and submissive roles playing out in the lead characters. It seems like to me that Suman's character was very submissive throughout the movie, and that he was only allowed to sort of progress to a point where, sort of not beyond a point where he wanted to go. So I just wanted to understand if there was any exploration of a dominant and submissive role between the lead characters.
Not exactly. I would not say it was. If you're talking about the sexual kink, a submissiveness, dominance in a sexual relationship, definitely not. But because this character Suman is approaching. There are many reasons why you love someone. And one of them, especially if it's an older person, happens to be when you just are awed by the person. So maybe maybe that's the kind of love he had for her. It was obviously important for him to touch her at some point, but even without that, just being in her presence used to fill him with a lot of happiness. That kind of a relationship I was trying to aim for. The thing we try to explore in this is actually this, really, like a very niche kink called vorarophilia. I don't know if you've heard of it, but while I was researching on the film, there is this kink apparently. On the internet, there are these forums where people discuss. They get high, imagining getting ingested by the lover. So it's a whole subculture of kink that I've got introduced to, and I try to doff my hat to that in the dream sequence, where it all started basically in his head.
Right. Okay, thank you for that.
Yep. Thanks, Raja. And Elisha has a question. Since Elisha doesn't have audio, I'm going to narrate it for you. The question is, the food shots, especially the human meats, with the human meats, were brilliant. Was it intentional to make the food look particularly delectable?
Yes. We spent a lot of time designing the food. I mean, we didn't have a food designer or anything like that. It was just me, the production designer, Poonam, Sham, all of us sitting together and deciding what will he make and when will he make, and how will we shoot it. So obviously much of the magic of the food shots is that the cinematographer Riju's contribution. He really knew exactly what we wanted, and he shot it so well. The idea was for it to look presentable, because when you think, I don't know if maybe this is just my imagination, but I think vegetarians always think of non-vegetarian people as just like animal like eating meat, but I wanted to make it because he is cooking out of love, so he needs to make it beautiful, so that was the idea behind making them look good. And of course the music really helped. I think the music just elevated the film a lot.
That's a great answer. I especially loved the cinematography of this. We have a question from Alka. Alka, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi, Bhaskar. So firstly, I'm sure there are a lot of people here who've met you already when you came to Austin for Kothanodi. So this is such a treat to have you back again. Kothanodi was also a really dark film. One of the audience members, the first one to ask you the question was, I love you and I hate you for the kind of films you make. And I feel like saying the same thing right again. Today was my second time watching the film, so I'm not as much in shock as many others. But when Geeti was talking, I was like, oh gosh, this is exactly what I was feeling. And I felt like that for weeks after seeing the movie. So I just wanted to know, I know you said you got a lot of positive reaction, but within Assam, was it all good? Or were there people who were completely aghast what you tried to convey?
Well, like I said before, there were some people really upset with the content of the film. But it is difficult. It is difficult to completely hate the film, and I was aware this is going to happen. So I tried to be clever. This film is all about suggesting the horrors, not showing them. So it's very difficult to to specify exactly what you didn't like about them. People have attempted. There is a blog we maintain where we put out all the audience feedback, good and bad. In that you will see some. I mean, if you can read Aamis, there's one. There's a poet, called Nilim Datta, who himself was a very controversial poet in his time because he wrote erotic poetry. He hated the film so much, he called it inhuman, and there was a huge debate, in social media in Assam with people who liked the film, took on his views. And so then after 3-4 months after that, he sent me a note apologizing for his reaction to the film. He said, I didn't probably understand the film. So it's all good, but yeah, initially it was a shock to the system. And I feel as filmmakers, we need to do that once in a while. We need to jerk audiences out of the comfort zones they get into, because most of the content you see is very predictable. I hope I've answered the question.
Absolutely. And thank you. Thank you for the film. And thank you for that answer.
Thank you. And we have a question from Ananya.
Yeah, I also wanted to say, first of all, it was a really wonderful film and it was shot beautifully. Like the first half, I think Josh said when he was reading the script reminded him of In the Mood for Love, and I could see why. And I was just kind of wondering, especially right now with the situation in India, where already there's a lot of push to ban, especially beef in various states, and then this big push for sort of like very vegetarian only version of Hinduism that is getting pushed out there. I'm just wondering, like, how are you taking all of that? Any criticisms of that, or of this being lumped together as some sort of indictment against non-veg brain, you know?
Well, so you're right. We live in a time of vegetarian terror in India. It works for me if people think that, okay, this film is one for vegetarians, telling people how horrible you can be if you eat meat. It's not the point of the film, but if that's how people see the film, it's okay for me. That means I can, still operate under the radar and not offend the wrong people, because it is very dangerous, in India right now. As you know, for what you eat, people can kill you, So it's a very weird time, but that's why I didn't transgress too much. I didn't show anybody having beef, because I knew that would get me in trouble with the censors, and that was not the point of the film anyway. This is like I said, this is a love story. Meat is a hope, I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
So why bring in all these political issues, in little love story that I'm trying to say. I do have views on this entire thing, and this is not the film.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Ananya. And we have a question from Kirtana, and I think we are almost there to wrap it up. There are a few more questions, I understand, but we are running out of time. Kirtana, please unmute yourself.
Thank you for this film. It takes a lot to make me uncomfortable and shocked at the same time, and I commend you for doing that. Having said that, I love the progression of the storyline. Never expected it to end the way it did, but I do agree it was a very messed up love story. So having said that, what's your script writing process? Because I know you mentioned that you always have the end before you actually get into it. How many times did it take you to get the final draft? How many times did you have to rewrite the characters to get, exactly what you wanted, and what was going on in your mind while you were writing these characters?
Well, I try, the thing is, I take a long time to write the first draft. It takes me about 5 to 6 months, and Poonam and Shyam are very patient, they let me have that time. Because when the first draft is ready, it's pretty much the end draft. Nothing much changes between draft. Even though we shot with draft 8, I believe, but that was only because there were small changes in the scenes that were being made. Nothing major was changed after the first draft, and that's because it took a long time. And it does take time to write. Writing is just 10% of the job. 90% of the time you have to think. And it's thinking that takes a long time. I think writing is the easier part out of the two things. And so. So I think by draft 8, we were pretty much, draft 7 was a little different. We imagined a different ending to the story. But, once the draft was written, Poonam and Shyam, producers, they both were not happy with it. So we reverted back to the original draft.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we just take a couple of more questions, and, we have a question from Supriya.
Thank you. Thank you. This is so interesting. So I just want to make a quick comment first that when anybody says horror, that's not my genre. And I know a lot of my friends it's not their genre either, right? And I think that kind of us reading articles and it being labeled under horror really did disservice to the film, honestly. Because I literally this morning posted saying, I'm not going to watch this because this is horror. But you guys, whoever it is, like my husband was really looking forward to it and he thoroughly enjoyed it. So I just want to say that is something I wish, there was not so much written about it and discussed, because then the impact of the film. And I was also telling somebody else that now I realize how my mind is more corrupt than even what the movie is, because it's making up stories, right? When you hear something like this, but very well made. So thank you so much, Bhaskar, for this movie. And Lima, I had a question, and Lima and Argadi, both of you, brilliantly acted. Thank you so much. It's hard to do this. So Lima, I had a question for you, especially when you are emoting this and what the concept, what about your facial expressions? Like I was thinking, if I'm an actress, how will I how do I know I'm not overdoing it, you know, or I'm able to convey? You did it so beautifully, because throughout the movie there was this mystery in both of you that we were like, okay, what's going to happen next, and what is she actually feeling, and what is he? So that was good. Can you just share a little bit on that? Like, how did you work on emoting?
Yeah, actually, it's not acting. They say that it's all about emoting, and you can only emote something which you have experienced earlier in life. We all go through dark patches in life, you know, when we remember the kind of feeling we had when we went through that. So I kind of try to remember like whatever I went through, and I try to slip those into, you know, Nirmali's character. So little things like, you know, getting dressed like her, you know, putting on the bun, you know, small little things that really helped me slip into the character. And the way the script was written, I really felt empathy for her. So I think that really helped me get into the character.
Yeah, and we honestly, I could feel that. I could feel that. And that's why I loved how Bhaskar just put that. He's saying that you actually connect to the characters and then you can understand them better. When you don't, then it just becomes this concept of this horror cannibalism. And that was beautifully done. So thank you. And this is coming like from somebody like me who's very wary of generally watching things, you know. So thank you, very well done. And a quick question to Argadeep, if I can, like what was the toughest part for him in this film to emote?
Well, I don't know, somehow there's this, there was a constant connection to the film from the very beginning. And yeah, I would say rather to, I think it might sound funny to you, but I think the toughest part I had in the whole shooting process was to drive a car. Because I have never driven a car before, you know, to take it on a lighter note. So yeah, that was the most toughest thing to do in this whole shooting process. And I had to negotiate few speed breakers. So and I totally failed in that. So yeah, I think that was the toughest part I had in the shooting process, and to emote the whole thing during that.
Well, the good news is that means you're a great actor. So maybe not a good driver, but a good actor. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we'll take one last question from Nishta.
Hi, I'm Vijay Ganju, and I'm with Nishta, and we just watched this amazing film together. You know, I know we've talked about this film as a love story with this overlay of cannibalism, but it strikes me that, for example, in Brazilian cinema, and actually in Brazilian literary criticism, this notion of cannibalism just runs through, you know, for decades. And there the metaphor is really tied very much to sort of cannibalism as a metaphor for consumerism. You know, you consume, you eat, you know, and that relationship is very strong. And then that gets extended to sort of metaphors of cannibalism related to how cultures eat each other and how, you know, people of different classes eat each other. And so to me, I was just wondering whether this whole notion of cannibalism is just, you know, like, was it really just that? Or did you also have this more extended sort of picture? Because in some ways you can interpret this whole film in a much broader way and much more sort of like in terms of these socio-political metaphor and analogies. And I was just wondering from the group there if any of that was underlying the whole film as well.
So that's a very interesting point, you know, because I was not aware of Brazilian cinema's, you know, preoccupation with cannibalism as a metaphor for consumerism. I must study it up because it's very interesting. For us, it was much more, it was not that deep actually. I just wanted to use one taboo which I knew would provoke people into hating the characters. And then the challenge for the audience is to, you know, to justify that hate because they've seen where they started, you know, they're just people just like them. So to answer your question in brief, that no, that was I I never even knew that Brazilian cinema had this thing, and I will definitely study it up. Thank you so much for letting me know about this.
Hi, I have a question too. In the post-COVID world, do you think you would be able to pen this script, and has the reception of the film changed because there is a sort of a new, almost a moralistic attitude towards consumption of wild animals, and maybe rightly so, maybe not. So I was just wondering, how would you have scripted it now in this time, or would it still be the same thing?
That's a very interesting question. I have been thinking about this also, ever since this thing blew up in our faces. This is definitely a pre-COVID film. Okay? I mean, we actually talk about eating bat here. How close can you get
exactly.
to
Yeah.
So far, no. It's been a trickle of people who have been pointing this out. But hopefully people will understand that this film was made at a more innocent time when eating diverse things was a sign of, diversity. People eat all kinds of things. The idea that they could get sick because they eat wild animals was not very prevalent. It was not a part of my then either. So I don't think this film would have. I don't know. Poonam is around. She can tell you. If she would have produced a film like this in the post-COVID world, I don't think I would have written it like this for sure.
Yeah. Thank
you.
In
fact, that was my question to Poonam. If Poonam is still around, what convinced you to produce this film, and would you be willing to take that risk in the current times? If Poonam is around.
Yeah. Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for hosting us. Yeah, that's an interesting question now. But yeah, firstly, I got into the film because I am interested in questions of gender and sexuality. That is what my academic background is also. It was not so much just cannibalism or the shocker element, but the use that this trope could be put to convey something about societal construction of sexuality and the way ethics control your very subconscious. So that was the idea. But yeah, whether I would produce it now, yeah, maybe the bat meat wouldn't be there.
Okay, that was a very interesting, rather long discussion, much longer than we had anticipated. So over to you, Ruby, for Ruby, if you're here.
Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody again, the filmmaker, the actors, the producers that joined us for this discussion. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your film with me and for all of us. Bhaskar, just to say, it's really good seeing you again and seeing the film after seeing it also pitched at NFDC. And I was very excited when I saw it. I was very excited when I saw you over there. And it's just coming full circle. It's like indie memes keep bringing great cinema to Austin. So on that note, thank you so much. And please, everybody, come again tomorrow for our last film of the festival. It's Ibaleu. We'll start at 6:30. And don't forget also to vote for the for the Audience Choice Award. The links have been sent to your email. Please vote. Don't forget to vote. And also share your experiences on social media using the hashtag IMFF2020. Tell all your friends and family about this film. What a great time you had talking about with the directors and the actors. These conversations have been very, very enlightening, and you only have them in moments like this, in this kind of community that we have formed. If you, as a reminder, that we do take a couple of screenshots during our Q&A sessions. If you have any objections, please do email us at info@indiememe.org. And just as a reminder, tomorrow we'll have our screening of Ibaleu, Q&As, a virtual stand-up, and the awards will be announced at the end. If there's not anything else that you want to wrap out, then thank you and have a good night.
Yep. So just a reminder that we're going to have a closing ceremony with, with the actor Adil Hussain in attendance. In addition to all the filmmakers, majority of the filmmakers will be in attendance. We're going to have an exciting, really exciting award ceremony. Plus, if you haven't already heard, it's going to be hosted by the funny Indian in quotes, Rajiv Satya. Will be hosting the show. It's going to be super interesting. Let's wrap it up now and see you everyone tomorrow.
Thank you so much for having us, guys. Thank you for watching the film.
Thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. And
Bhaskar, sorry, Bhaskar, you have the rare distinction of being the only filmmaker whose film has screened, who's come to the festival twice. So you were there for our first film festival and you're there for our 5th film festival. So thank you.
I loved Austin so much. I was so looking forward to coming again.
We were too.
Maybe I'll come there again some point.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
And everyone, I've also posted the link to the Audience Choice Awards in the chat if you want to access it from there.
All right, we should close this meeting in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think Poonam is still here and so is Rija.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, I'm just about to leave.
You got the access to the thing?
I think something's wrong with my my settings or the firewall because it won't load the form. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Oh, really? Okay. Try and open it from your phone.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me try that. But guys, this was incredible. Thank you so much for this.
I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah, it was really well curated. I have to say, I didn't talk about this earlier, but the short films, they were so well curated because there was like a flowing theme through them where they played with silence so well. In the first one, it was like to show the heaviness of the relationship and it was really intense. Anyway.
Yeah, I think our programming team, like Sveta and everyone else who was part of choosing it, was kind of to thank for that. Also, I will say that throughout this movie, Rija and I were WhatsApping every half an hour. We're like, what?
I know, and I was way ahead of you. And I was, by the way, I was having dinner while I was watching this movie. And I ate fish. I don't know why I chose that.
You're brave.
Yeah, man. Honestly, just bad.
Well, it wasn't the worst meat you could have been eating.
That's true.
As long as I was eating quiche and half my quiche is still left. Because I stopped eating at the deviled egg scene.
Yeah, that was hard to take. But also quite well done to choose deviled eggs for that.
Yeah.
I know. Right?
Well, it's just like the way that they kind of ease you into cannibalism too, where it's just like, yeah, well, they've been eating some pretty wild meats. Okay, well, it's part of his leg, and he was pretty into it. So
I'm just imagining someone being like, "Paneer samajh ke kha ja."
Poonam, are you still here? Poonam?
Yeah.
You can join us for this conversation if you're still there.
Poonam, I really wanted to say thank you so much for believing in this such a weird but lovely concept. Thank you so much for producing the movie. It was awesome. I don't think she's here.
Yeah, I don't think she's here.
I don't think she. Anyways, lovely.
Right. We'll call it a night.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Bye. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Hey, I have a quick question for Supriya. Supriya, the graphic for Supriya's gone away. No, she's there. So the graphic for both the for Adil and for what's his name, Rajiv, where are they? So because I'll wake up early tomorrow and work. I'm just
It's
too
already
tired to
online. It's on our social media channel.
So I can just download from Facebook both those graphics, right?
Yep.
And we don't need a graphic for Surbi. It's okay to not have one.
Yeah.
Can you also put it in the graphics folder, in the marketing graphics folder?
Yeah, that has nothing really. Yes, I'll go ahead and put it. Sorry,
Okay, I did a lot of downloading for Facebook yesterday, so
Alka is a pro now.
Tripti, what are you saying?
Picture, na? Surbi is there in those 3 ones, the one with Rajiv and.
Oh, there is a 3-1. Okay, perfect. Then to perfect. Okay.
So that we can use because then all 2 special guests and.
No, that I'll have to send to you because as we decided.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow morning is when that
but send it to me because I'll use it. By the time I send out the newsletter, it'll be later. But at least I can. So just send me that 3-1 that Tripti talking about. Tripti, just quickly run through the flow for the newsletter. Now, tomorrow morning, we want to tell them about tonight wrap and then closing ceremony. No, first Ibaleu and then closing ceremony.
Ibaleu, and everything about the closing ceremony, about who's hosting and our special guests and jury awards and then audience choice awards and then the winner. So you have to find out the winner also for that in restaurant gift card.
Yeah, how do I find out that? I need to do a little bit this thing. Whoever has tagged.
You figure out how to find it out. It's your giveaway.
Hopefully somewhere people have tagged. I've been saying tag. So
yeah, I think you can search for a tag, Supriya.
Yeah, that's the thing that I need to research tomorrow to see how do I go into Facebook to see who all have tagged us.
So I think by evening it'll be nice if we have the names.
Yeah, fine. So I'm not making any note of mention of that in the newsletter.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Supriya just
Don't
on
announce
Instagram
the
and
winner.
Facebook.
Yeah, don't announce the winner.
Okay.
I don't have to ping anybody after 9:30 tomorrow, right? Everything is taken care by Rajiv and like all the filmmakers and everybody, right? Like who would I ping after 9:15?
Time now.
Maybe you should ping Surbi. I'll give you Surbi's number.
But then Rajiv is taking care of everything, right?
Right. No, to make sure that they're there in time.
Okay.
Right? Rajiv is not taking care of that.
Yeah, Shweta will take care of Adil, Pallavi, and Rajiv will be taken care of by Meghna. So you don't have to ping those 2. But Surbi, you should ping and send. I don't know, Alka, have you sent her the timing and the run sheet as yet? So then maybe Pallavi can do that if you can give her the.
It is shared with the board.
I saw the run sheet.
Surbi's email.
Oh, not
Surbi's email.
Yeah, Surbi's email and her phone number. If then Pallavi can send that out. And Pallavi, you keep a track of the time. Definitely yes, tomorrow.
So who should she ping? Like who should she ping if somebody is running late?
Actually, I should ping Shweta and Meghna.
Meghna and Ani, it's the same format.
Shweta and Shweta, Meghna, Ani.
Yeah, it's the same format which is there. Shweta is in touch with all the filmmakers in jury, right? And Meghna is going to be responsible for all the flow and doing plugins in case Rajiv misses something. Okay, and Ani is there to carry through the whole, and of course Ananya is also here. So same format.
Does Shweta has the address of phone numbers of the jury or the jury contacts? Like
Shweta has that.
Shweta has that. But I think tomorrow is much more controlled. So hopefully everybody's, has a script.
And tomorrow Nishta is doing Q&A with Prateek.
Okay. I wanted to know who's talking to Prateek. Shweta is right. Does Prateek know Nishta is doing the Q&A? Does anybody know that?
I don't know. No idea.
वही 10 minutes पहले बुला लो दोनों को आपस में मिल लेंगे और क्या.
Do you have Nishta's contact, Pallavi?
I should be, yes, I should be having it.
Do they
Email.
know each other? Like, do they have a history?
She knows
History.
me.
History. That's why I think it's better to tell him that.
Like good history, bad history.
Question mark history.
Oh,
I just found out. So that's why I think yes. So I didn't know. How do I know Aamis? So
if Nishta should know, right? We asked Nishta that she's.
But not from Nishta's point of view. From his point of view, is it? Question mark.
पहले ही बहुत कुछ हो चुका है उसके साथ.
I was exactly. I was like, oh God. He's sitting there all grumpy, saying, "How come she's asking me questions?"
The big boy, he can handle it. It's all.
Yeah. But still, it'll be good to just let him know. So it's not an instant surprise 2 minutes before you face everybody.
Chalo, last day tomorrow. Yay, we're all done then.
Bye guys.
All right, bye.
Hello, bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Oh, Supriya, can you send that graphic to me also?
Yeah, I'll just send it.
Thank you. Bye.